Hey, what's going on, peeps? Now, this is not clickbait, and this is not a storage room. I'm actually just moved. I had to stop, y'all. I had to stop looking at porn.
Oh my God! Wow!
Is it ADHD or is it pornography? If you're looking at pornography, and if you're consuming a lot of it, or if you're consuming a lot of anything that causes you to repeatedly go back to it, you're affecting the way your brain works. There's a whole bunch of studies, a bunch of YouTube videos. You can read articles on from here to infinity. Why the internet is relevant as far as consuming something like pornography is different because back in the day, we could look at it on tape, we could look at it on video, or look at it in a magazine, and it was limited. You didn't have nonstop streams of pornography like we have today. Now, I'm talking to the ladies and the men.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Especially more men, more women look at it too, but it affects your brain the same way. And speaking of brain, your brain looks like, when you're addicted to something, very much like a person that's addicted to any substance, whether it's food, drugs, alcohol. They've done comparisons and MRIs on brains of people that are addicted to drugs and alcohol and people that are addicted to, say, food, sex, pornography. As far as dopamine levels are concerned, and as far as the way the brain actually looks in an MRI, it's pretty much the same for all intents and purposes. The same area that's responsible for pleasure and reward lights up in the brain in these MRIs. Dopamine is basically a substance, a neurotransmitter that allows us to go and do something, to give us the go, give us to I want to. The rewards come later when we get it, and then we want to again. You can look up something that's called the Coolidge effect. I'll give you the short, condensed, quickie version of it. Essentially, they had a rat in a cage, a male rat. He's in a cage chilling. They get a female, a receptive female. Of course, you put them in a cage, and feverishly they go at it. Now this male rat is spent, he's done. They measure his dopamine levels and they see, of course, naturally it spiked, as you would expect, and then it fell after the event was over. Now after the refractory period ended, refractory period is when a man can perform again because the blood is back to where it needs to be. And as this continued, the dopamine levels fell. The same old thing all the time, you kind of get bored of it. This is what happens, ladies and gentlemen, it's science. So the rat is sleeping, chilling, so they bring another female rat in there. This is a new one, something novel. Dopamine levels spiked, they went at it again, same thing. And they started to notice a pattern where every time they put a new female rat in there, the dopamine levels continued to climb. However, this male rat didn't stop. He just kept going. He would go until he was exhausted. That's how powerful dopamine is. The drive to learn is dopamine. Dopamine is the I want it, and everything else is I like it. Recent science has revealed that our brains are plastic, or what they termed neuroplasticity. So that means with every experience, our brain changes. If you're a musician, you probably have a bigger audio cortex than a person that doesn't play because you've used that pathway so many times. Those neurons are fired together, they wire together, and they actually are sheathed with myelin. It's like an insulation on a wire. So the messages go a lot quicker, so you can process faster and you have more firepower dedicated to that. But if you stop doing it, that will just decrease. And it'll be, the effort will go someplace else in your brain. Now, please understand, this is something that you have to ask yourself. I know for me that I had this ADHD issue my entire life. It affected me in school. But later on in life, looking at pornography, I know it definitely affected my concentration. It affected my mood, affected my state of mind. It affected my emotions because emotions are also involved in making decisions, believe it or not. We are emotional. Here's what happened to people like myself and many other people. Terry Crews spoke about this whole no-fap thing, and this guy said he was looking at porn, the sun was out, it became night, and Terry Crews was still looking at porn. He was being fapalicious, but here's the deal. This man came on here to talk about these things because of what it did to his mind. When we extract something that's supposed to be sweet and leave the rest of it, well, we have a problem. With pornography of this age, we get endless hours of it. Now that affects our brain in a way where we've never experienced this before. I'm old enough to remember when, there was not like, fap.com and instantpleasure.com. It was none of that stuff. You have to go to the video store, and all that stuff in the Playboy. But now we have it so much that the novelty tricks our brain into thinking this is good. And the way this works is dopamine drives you to do something. You get the reward, and those dopamine levels fall. When you see this thing again, dopamine levels increase, and then they fall and increase and fall. You go after this thing, you get the dopamine, the reward, the behavior, and you get stuck in this loop, kind of like what happened to the mouse. All that comes with a cost. They call pornography a super stimulant. That's way outside of nature. How many women are you gonna have sex with how many female rats this rat is gonna have sex with. There's only so much. But with porn, the novelty is what gets us. People think it's dopamine that makes you feel good. Not really necessarily. It's dopamine that drives you to the reward. The reward makes you feel good, hence you start to seek again for that. But it's dopamine again that pushes you to do that. What begins to happen with anything else, your body will slow it down, because that's homeostasis. Your body looks for an even place to kind of just chill at, and it helps to keep you alive. So what it does, it decreases the dopamine regulators. They've seen that people that consume a lot of porn compared to people that don't have a smaller striatum. The striatum works with the prefrontal cortex. So when you have this whole dopamine loop, the amount of times that you're doing it, your pleasure goes down, but the habit goes up, and it's reinforced because you want to feel good, because you want to get it again, because you want to feel good. So as all this is happening, the gray matter of the brain is starting to decrease. It's starting to become smaller and smaller. What happens when the gray matter becomes smaller and smaller? You start to feel depressed, you get foggy minded, you can't pay attention to things. Kind of sounds a lot like ADHD. Now let's be real with ourselves. Is it pornography or is it ADHD? Now everybody's grown. You got to keep it 100 with yourself. Given a reason why I would stay away from something like that. Of course, it depressed me, affected my faith. I'm supposed to be a Christian, but now I'm looking at this stuff. I have a better mental understanding. Not just it's wrong. Now this is what it does to the brain. I know I did mention the gray matter of the brain, but that part is responsible. You're creating ideas or self-control, motivation. If that part gets smaller, that means less of it is being used, like anything else. You stop working out, the muscles get smaller. That's just how the body works. I'll see you guys in the next video. Hit me up in the comment section, whether you agree, you disagree. There you go. God bless.